Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is waiting in line. They've been waiting for 45 seconds, and they've already opened their phone. Not because anything important happened, not because they were expecting a message, just because 45 seconds felt like too long to be alone with their own thoughts. Think about that. 45 seconds. That's how long it takes to sneeze 3 times, boil an egg for approximately 0% of its required time, or say the word anti-disestablishmentarianism once, slowly, while making eye contact with a stranger. And it was too long. So here's the question nobody's actually asking. What happens to a human brain that never, ever gets bored again? Spoiler, it's not great. But the real answer is weirder and, honestly, a little terrifying. First, let's be clear about what boredom is, because most of us think boredom is the absence of something, the nothing that happens between things that matter. Scientists disagree. Boredom is not nothing. Boredom is a signal, a very specific, neurologically distinct state that your brain enters when it decides that what you're currently doing isn't worth its full attention. But it also can't go fully offline. It's your brain standing at the door going, I could be doing something more useful than this. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? And that signal, annoying as it is, turns out to be one of the most important states the human brain ever enters. In 2014, researchers at the University of Central Lancashire ran a study. They gave one group of people a boring task, copying numbers out of a phone book by hand. The other group skipped straight to the creative portion of the experiment. The bored group performed significantly better on the creativity tests that followed. Not slightly better, significantly better, because boredom forces your brain into what neuroscientists call the default mode network, the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on the outside world. And the default mode network is where some of the most important things your brain does actually happen. Daydreaming, planning your future, thinking about other people, processing your emotions, making unexpected connections between unrelated ideas. Einstein famously stared into space constantly. Newton sat under a tree doing nothing until an apple supposedly hit him, which, yes, the apple story is probably exaggerated, but the sitting and doing nothing part is well documented. Your brain needs empty space the same way a whiteboard needs blank surface. You can't solve a new equation on a board that's already full. So we've established that boredom is important. Now let's talk about what we've done to it. We killed it. Systematically. Deliberately. With great enthusiasm. 45 seconds in a line. Phone. 2 minutes waiting for food. Phone. Lying in bed before sleep. Phone. Sitting in the bathroom. Phone. You know who you are. The average person now touches their phone 2,617 times per day. Some heavy users top 5,000. That's once every 11 seconds during waking hours. And here's where it gets interesting, because your phone isn't just filling your boredom. It's specifically engineered too. Every app, every feed, every notification, every autoplay, designed by teams of engineers whose only job is to make sure your default mode network never, ever gets a chance to turn on. The average attention span before reaching for a phone has dropped to somewhere between 8 and 47 seconds, depending on the study. Scientists can't even agree on the number, because it keeps getting shorter. Here's a comparison that might sting a little. A goldfish maintains focus for approximately 9 seconds. In 2000, the average human attention span was 12. It is now estimated to be closer to 8. Somewhere, a goldfish is judging you. But here's where it stops being funny. Because all of that dopamine, the little reward hit you get every time you check the phone and something new is there, it doesn't just pass through, it rewires you. Let's talk about dopamine, because everyone knows dopamine makes you feel good. But that's not actually what dopamine does. That's the plot twist. Dopamine doesn't make you feel pleasure. Dopamine makes you want. Researchers figured this out in the 1990s when neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz discovered that dopamine neurons don't fire when you get a reward. They fire in anticipation of a reward. And critically, they fire most when the reward is unpredictable. This is why slot machines are more addictive than paychecks, even though paychecks are much better. This is why you refresh Twitter instead of rereading a book you already loved, even though the book was objectively more enjoyable. Your brain isn't seeking pleasure. It's seeking possibility, the chance that something interesting might be there, and every time you pick up your phone, you're pulling a tiny slot machine lever. Sometimes there's a message, sometimes there's a funny video, sometimes there's a notification that is, in the cold light of day, completely meaningless. But the chance that it might be interesting, that's enough. Your dopamine system doesn't care that nothing is actually there. The wanting is the thing, which means you've built a machine that generates unlimited wanting. Heavy social media users show dopamine system dysregulation similar to people with substance dependencies. The brain starts producing less dopamine in response to everyday life. Not because everyday life got worse, but because the baseline got so high that normal things, a conversation, a walk, sitting quietly, stopped registering as rewarding at all. This is called tolerance. And you know tolerance from somewhere. It's the thing that makes a coffee drinker need 3 cups to feel what 1 cup used to do. Except, instead of caffeine, it's your entire experience of being alive. So, back to our original question. What happens when a brain never gets bored again? Studies show that people who are chronically overstimulated score lower on divergent thinking tests. Their brains have literally forgotten how to wander. They can follow a recipe. They struggle to invent one. Second, emotional processing breaks down. Your brain uses boredom and idle time to process emotional experiences. When something upsetting happens, you don't fully process it in the moment. You process it later. In the shower, on a walk, staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. That's not insomnia. That's maintenance. When you fill every idle moment with stimulation, you stop processing. Emotions pile up unexamined. This is why people who are constantly distracted often report a vague, persistent sense of anxiety they can't quite name. They're not anxious about anything specific. They're just running months of unprocessed experience on a background thread that never gets to finish loading. The ancient humans who sat around fires at night weren't entertained. They were bored and cold and probably a little worried about what was outside the light. And in that discomfort, they told stories. They invented mythology. They built the conceptual foundations of every religion, every art form, and every scientific question humanity has ever asked. They sat in the dark with nothing to do. And they became us. We built a world where the dark is always lit and the silence is always filled. And in doing so, we may have quietly broken the engine that built civilization. So the next time you're standing in a line and the urge hits, the urge to reach into your pocket, flip the lever, check the feed, see if anything new appeared in the last 90 seconds. Try something different. Just stand there. Let your brain have 45 seconds of nothing. It might feel uncomfortable. It might feel boring. That's exactly the point. Your brain isn't malfunctioning when it's bored. It's doing something the most expensive technology on Earth was designed to prevent. It's thinking, and we probably shouldn't let that become a radical act.